Thank you for plugging into this Family Life News podcast, streaming issues-driven, family-focused news.
And welcome back to another edition of Issues in Education. Mondays during the Noon Report, we spotlight the issues that matter most to our public schooling families with Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute in Houghton, New York. Ralph, welcome back to the program, sir. It's great to have you with us today.
Thank you. I thought for sure you'd say in snowbound Houghton, New York. But
wasn't going to bring that up, but hey, this is what they call the bleak midwinter, I guess.
Oh, okay. All right.
And everybody that knows Houghton knows it never stops snowing there. It snowed on my graduation, in fact. So it tends to happen. But hey, Ralph, one of the main reasons we love to have you on our air is you brag on teachers a lot. And I tell you, if there's one group of people that needs a little bit of encouragement these days, it's our public school teachers. They are feeling fatigued and burned out like never before. I got to imagine that this a lot has to do with COVID, but is it all COVID-induced?
Well, it's not all COVID-induced. Certainly there's a certain amount of fatigue and burnout really in any job, but certainly COVID has just added to the fatigue. In fact, the National Education Association did a survey of their members and showed that out of 3 million members, 90% of them say that they are burned out at this point.
An area superintendent that we have on our air a lot had a great quote. He said the role of the teacher is now the role of the teacher, the social worker, the mom, the dad, the counselor, the therapist, all rolled into one. Is that a recent phenomenon, or is this just something that goes with the job?
Well, actually, it's one that has come about over the last several years. You're not old enough to know this, but I am, that originally education was about reading and writing and arithmetic.
I remember those things, yeah.
You do?
A little bit. It's been a while, but I think it does ring a bell.
Now we've evolved into, as I said last week, for nurses, and then the superintendent said the same thing about teachers. We've just expected that they're going to take on the role of social worker, mom, dad, counselor, therapist, and it just adds to the frustration and the burnout and fatigue that teachers are feeling right now.
Well, hey, let's talk about a couple other quick things before we go. More than a dozen superintendents have sent a letter to Governor Hochul. Basically says when it comes to the COVID protocols, we'll take it from here, Gov. Thanks, but no thanks. They've argued this one-size-fits-all thing is not working, whether it's the masks or whatever. And what the governor is doing, they say, is actually making it harder to get back to normal. Your thoughts on that?
I think that's probably true, but here's where the rubber really meets the road on this. Superintendents have taken an oath, and they do it every year, that says that they will uphold the law. And as long as the laws and the authority that the governor has says that there will be masking, says that there will be all these things in school, in reality, they don't have any choice but to uphold those things. I hope that it won't be that long, however, before the governor will say, I think we've had enough. Let's go back and begin to try to be at a normal situation. The sooner the better, as far as I'm concerned.
All right. And then finally, Ralph, just so our listeners in Pennsylvania don't feel left out, tomorrow Governor Wolf will give his final budget address, and education spending will figure prominently in this. He wants a record $3.75 billion increase in public education spending. You've talked about this on this program as well a lot. Why do our elected leaders so often think the answer to everything is just, if I spend a little bit more money, then we'll get the outcome we want?
Well, the reason for politicians is because it gets them votes. I'm sorry to say that, but that's the case.
Yeah.
There's also a majority opinion in Pennsylvania, as well as everywhere, that if you throw more money at a problem, it's going to fix it. And I can tell you, as a sitting Board of Education member, it's really hard to go against that opinion and say, money is not the answer to everything. Yeah. But unfortunately, the politicians continue to think it is, And as long as they have the money, which they do right now, mostly because of the federal money that's come into all the states, they will continue to throw money at every problem they come up against.
All right. Spoken like a guy that's been there. Dr. Ralph Kerr at the Teaching and Learning Institute in Houghton, New York. What is it? Why do you exist? If folks have questions and want to know more, Ralph, you have a wonderful New Look website. Folks can check you out. Where is that, sir?
Thank you, Bob. All of those comments and questions that you just mentioned are simply at whyrun.org, whyrun.org.